Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising treasures in the world of coin collecting, the 1975 1-cent penny that has stunned collectors, investors, and enthusiasts around the world with a value that in rare cases can reach as high as $4 million. And while at first glance it might look like just another common Lincoln Memorial cent that rolled off the presses during the mid-1970s when millions were being produced, the truth is that specific examples of this coin with unique minting errors, unusual die varieties, and unexpected mistakes have transformed them from everyday pocket change into once-in-a-lifetime discoveries worth more than mansions, luxury cars, or even some pieces of fine art. And in this long exploration we are going to uncover all the possibilities, every single detail about what can make this coin so valuable. Why collectors are willing to pay astronomical prices, what kinds of errors occurred at the mint in 1975, and how the rarity of these issues combined with human fascination for mistakes and anomalies in history leads to these unbelievable values. So buckle up and imagine the thrill of finding one of these coins in a jar, an old roll of pennies, or hidden away in a family collection, because you could literally be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand without even realizing it. The story of the 1975 1-cent begins with the United States Mint operating at full speed in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents made from copper alloy, specifically the bronze mixture of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that had been used for decades before the 1982 switch to copper-plated zinc. And because of the massive production numbers, most people assume that coins from 1975 are common, ordinary, and virtually worthless beyond their face value. But numismatics has shown us over and over again that it only takes a small mistake in the minting process, a misaligned die, an accidental double strike, or even the wrong planchet being fed into the press to create something extraordinary. And this is exactly what happened with certain 1975 cents. Errors such as double dies are among the most famous and sought after, where the design elements, letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's profile appear double due to a misalignment in the hubbing process. And on a 1975 cent, a double die in the date, especially the 1975 numbers or in the motto, "In God We Trust," can create a dramatic visual difference that collectors adore. And if strong enough, such an error could catapult the value of the coin from a penny to hundreds of thousands and in extreme rarity millions of dollars, particularly if only a handful were struck before the mistake was caught and corrected. Another possibility lies in off-center strikes, when the coin is not seated properly in the press and part of the design is missing or shifted off the edge. And while minor off-center strikes are relatively common and may only be worth tens or hundreds, a perfectly dramatic off-center with a clear full date visible could make a 1975 cent one of the most desirable error coins of its generation, with collectors competing fiercely to secure it. Then we also consider wrong planchet errors, which are some of the most valuable in existence. For example, if a 1975 Lincoln cent was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, a nickel planchet, or even a foreign coin blank, that would create an anomaly so rare that the auction houses would see bidding wars climb into the millions. And since the 1970s were a busy time for the mint with coins from multiple countries sometimes being produced, the possibility of such errors cannot be dismissed, and when they do occur, they become legendary. Another highly valuable error category includes proof errors from the San Francisco Mint, because proofs are struck with extra care, polished dies, and intended for collectors. Mistakes on proofs are extremely rare, but when they do occur, such as a proof cent missing its S mint mark, or struck with a reverse intended for a different year, or showing dramatic doubling, the rarity skyrockets. And collectors who pursue registry sets and ultimate rarities are willing to pay millions to own such pieces. There are also dramatic die breaks and cuts, when part of the die literally cracks and leaves a raised blob or missing chunk on the coin. And although most are minor, some can be spectacular and cover entire sections of the coin, making them unique one-of-a-kind treasures. Another fascinating angle is transitional errors. Although 1975 itself did not change composition, sometimes leftover blanks from other years get used or experimental planchets are mistakenly struck, and these transitional pieces become some of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. Beyond mint-made errors, there is also the consideration of condition and grading, because while billions of 1975 cents exist, finding one in pristine mint state condition with sharp details, blazing original red copper color, and virtually no marks is exceedingly difficult, and the finest examples graded by services like PCGS or NGC can command extraordinary premiums, sometimes crossing into 6 or 7 figures purely on condition rarity alone, and when combined with errors, the value multiplies astronomically, which is how we arrive at the possibility of a $4 million coin. The psychological and historical aspect also plays a role, as collectors are often fascinated not just by rarity but by the stories coins tell, and a 1975 penny with a major error is not only a piece of metal but also a frozen moment of history, capturing a mistake at the mint that was never meant to exist. A survivor that slipped through the cracks and traveled through the economy until being discovered decades later by someone paying close attention, and this journey from an ordinary cent to a multi-million-dollar treasure makes the coin all the more enchanting. Consider also the fact that coin collecting is one of the oldest and most respected hobbies, often called the hobby of kings, and wealthy collectors or investors are always searching for the next great rarity to add to their portfolio. So when a 1975 penny with a once-in-a-lifetime error surfaces, these buyers are prepared to spend incredible sums, creating the headlines that make the rest of us dream about the possibilities hidden in our change. To truly understand why the 1975 cent could be worth $4 million, you have to imagine the perfect storm of circumstances. An extremely rare and dramatic error such as a doubled die or wrong planchet, combined with survival in exceptional condition, combined with intense demand from collectors who may never see another one. And in such a scenario, the price realized at auction can reach unimaginable heights, breaking previous records and making history. For example, past auctions of similar Lincoln cent errors from other years have shown us that collectors are willing to pay hundreds of thousands for dramatic doubled dies, off-metal strikes, and rare proof varieties, and if an even rarer 1975 version were discovered, it could easily set new world records. The beauty of this story is that such coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered, and that adds an element of adventure to the hobby, because any one of us could come across a 1975 penny with a hidden error that transforms it from a single cent into a life-changing fortune. Imagine searching through an old roll of pennies inherited from a relative, or finding a jar of coins tucked away in the attic, and suddenly spotting something unusual, maybe a doubling in the date, maybe the coin looks smaller or larger because of a wrong planchet, maybe the strike is off-center in a dramatic way, and realizing that what you hold is not just pocket change but a $1 million miracle. That is the magic of numismatics. The 1975 cent embodies the possibility that extraordinary value can be hidden in the most ordinary places, and its story inspires both seasoned collectors and beginners to look closer, to appreciate the artistry and complexity of coin production, and to cherish the surprises that history leaves behind. As we continue to explore the world of rare coins, the 1975 penny stands out as a reminder that mistakes can create beauty, that rarity drives passion, and that even the smallest coin can carry a story worth millions. So next time you come across a 1975 Lincoln cent, don't dismiss it as just another old penny. Study it carefully, look for doubling, check the edges. Examine the color and the strike, because you never know if you're holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever made. 1. That could change your life forever with a single discovery. And that is why the legend of the 1975 1 cent worth $4 million continues to capture imaginations across the world of coin collecting. After exploring the fascinating mysteries behind the 1975 penny worth up to $4 million, today let's move forward into another incredible story in the world of coin collecting, this time focusing on the 1994 Lincoln cent, a coin struck at the Denver Mint that in rare cases has been valued at up to $2 million because of its remarkable errors, mistakes, and unique anomalies that slip past quality control and into circulation, creating hidden treasures for anyone lucky enough to find them. And while most people would think of a 1994 penny as completely ordinary since the mint struck billions of them using the copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, The reality is that a very small handful of them carry rare characteristics that transform them from being worth just a single cent to being worth more than a mansion. And that is what makes this story so captivating, because it shows us how tiny details, accidents, and imperfections in the minting process can have monumental effects on value. The Denver Mint in 1994 was producing an enormous quantity of coins to keep up with the demands of commerce in the United States, and with so much volume, even the most advanced machinery can produce mistakes, and when it comes to coins, collectors treasure those mistakes because they represent the unexpected, the unplanned, and the extraordinarily rare. So when a 1994 cent shows up with a double die error, where letters, numbers, or parts of Lincoln's portrait appear doubled from the die hubbing process, that single anomaly can push the value sky high, especially if the doubling is bold, visible to the naked eye, and located in areas like the date or the motto, Liberty, where collectors seek the most dramatic examples. Off-center strikes also play a major role, because while small off-centers are somewhat common, a dramatic 50% off-center with the full 1994 date showing can be considered priceless to collectors, and if one of these originated from Denver, you can bet that passionate bidders would drive the price into 6 or 7 figures at auction. Another extraordinary possibility comes from wrong planchet errors, because if a 1994 cent was mistakenly struck on a dime planchet, nickel planchet, or even a foreign blank, it becomes a one-of-a-kind specimen, and since these types of errors have historically sold for massive sums, it's easy to see how the value can push toward $2 million for an extremely rare example in top condition. Proof-like anomalies are also worth mentioning, as sometimes a circulation coin like the 1994 cent can exhibit unusual mirrored fields and frosted devices, resembling proof coins, which adds another layer of rarity and desirability, especially when combined with Denver's mint mark that anchors the coin's identity. There are also die cracks and cuds, where breaks in the die create raised lumps or missing areas in the design, and while smaller ones might be modestly collectible, a large dramatic cud covering part of Lincoln's head or the memorial on the reverse would make the coin unique and incredibly valuable. Then, there is the question of condition, because coins from the 1990s often entered circulation immediately, and zinc-based cents are prone to corrosion, pitting, and surface damage, so finding a 1994 penny in pristine mint state red condition, especially at the highest grades like MS69, is nearly impossible, and if one exists in such a flawless state, its condition rarity alone would make it a high six-figure or even million-dollar coin, and when combined with a dramatic error, it's no wonder that collectors could pay up to $2 million for the ultimate example. Beyond the technical errors and condition, there is also the story factor, because the 1994 cent represents an era of modern coinage where most people assumed all pennies were worthless due to their zinc composition and mass production, but the discovery of multimillion-dollar rarities in such an ordinary year turns that assumption upside down, showing us that even coins we grew up seeing every day in our pockets can hide unimaginable value, and that is part of the thrill of collecting. Imagine the excitement of someone finding one of these in a coin roll from the bank, or tucked away in a relative's old coin jar, not realizing that what they're holding is a small metal disc worth more than some of the most expensive cars in the world. And that's why these stories inspire people to keep searching, to keep examining their change, and to keep dreaming that they might uncover one of these extraordinary rarities. The 1994 penny worth $2 million is not just a coin, it is a symbol of possibility, rarity, and the way history and the stakes can align to create something of immense value out of something so ordinary, and it reminds us that treasures can be hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone with curiosity and a careful eye to discover them. And after uncovering the incredible secrets of the 1994 Lincoln cent that in rare instances has been valued at up to $2 million, we now move forward into the 21st century where yet another seemingly ordinary penny has shocked collectors and investors with its extraordinary potential, the 2002 Lincoln Memorial Cent. A coin that most people would dismiss as nothing more than modern pocket change, but in the rarest cases has been valued at up to $1 million because of the unique errors, minting mistakes, and extreme condition rarities that set it apart from the billions of ordinary examples struck by the United States Mint during that year, And the fascinating part of this story is that the 2002 cent represents an era where many collectors assumed modern zinc-based pennies held little to no collectible value, yet history continues to prove that even in years of mass production, accidents and anomalies can create treasures that turn a single cent into a life-changing fortune. The 2002 penny was struck in huge numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, using the copper-plated zinc composition that had been standard since 1982, and because so many were made, people naturally assume there is nothing special about them. But within that massive output, errors such as doubled dies, wrong planchet strikes, off-center strikes, and dramatic die cracks have created coins that are anything but ordinary. For example, a 2002 cent with a double die error showing clear doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "I in God we trust" becomes instantly desirable, and the stronger the doubling, the more collectors are willing to pay, because such visual anomalies are not only fascinating but also incredibly rare in modern coinage, and if a unique bold double die example exists in top mint state condition, its value could climb into the hundreds of thousands, or even up to $1 million in the right circumstances. Off-center strikes are another category of errors that bring tremendous value, and while a minor off-center might be worth only a small premium, a dramatic off-center of 50% or more, with the full 2002 date still visible, could be a once-in-a-lifetime find, and that uniqueness drives collectors into intense bidding wars that push prices to astronomical levels. Wrong planchet errors are perhaps the most valuable of all, because if a 2002 cent was accidentally struck on a dime blank, nickel blank, or even a foreign coin planchet, it becomes one of a kind, and such spectacular minting mistakes have been known to sell for immense sums, sometimes into the millions when condition, rarity, and demand align. There are also transitional type errors to consider, because while 2002 did not officially change compositions, mints sometimes struck coins on leftover or experimental planchets, and if even a single 2002 cent were discovered struck on the wrong metal composition, that would become a legendary rarity. Beyond the errors, condition plays a huge role in determining value, because zinc-based coins like the 2002 penny are notoriously prone to corrosion, spotting, and surface damage, and finding a pristine mint state example with blazing red color and no flaws at the highest grading levels is incredibly difficult, which means the few that survive in nearly perfect condition are worth immense premiums. And when such flawless quality combines with an error, the price can leap from thousands to hundreds of thousands and beyond, eventually reaching that fabled $1 million mark. The proof issues from 2002 also add another layer of intrigue, because the San Francisco Mint produced proof sets, and while most are common, mistakes such as missing mint marks, wrong reverses, or dramatic doubling on proofs are ultra-rare, and collectors chase these rarities with fierce determination, often willing to pay sums that rival or exceed those of classic coins. What makes the 2002 penny so exciting is not only the technical side of its rarity, but also the psychological and emotional impact, because it shows us once again that treasures can exist in the most unexpected places, and that even a coin from the early 2000s, a time when most people had stopped paying close attention to pennies, can suddenly become the star of an auction, capturing worldwide headlines when it sells for staggering amounts. Imagine the thrill of someone today searching through their change jar, a roll of pennies from the bank, or even receiving a coin and change at the grocery store, and discovering that one of those pennies is not just worth 1 cent but is instead a rare $1 million mistake, a coin that could completely change their life. And that possibility keeps collectors excited, keeps treasure hunters motivated, and keeps the world of numismatics vibrant. The 2002 cent valued at $1 million reminds us that rarity is not confined to ancient coins or early American issues, but can also exist in the modern era, created by the same forces of human error, mechanical imperfection, and the unpredictability of the minting process. And that makes it all the more thrilling, because it means opportunity is still out there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a curious mind to uncover it.